Was that less than a minute or what? Hey, we're back. I hope you had a chance to join us on the broadcast today. Earlier, just a few minutes earlier, actually, on Leaders Need Personal, Team, and Coaching Development. And I'm back now because this is another great piece of the Coach Manny Inner Circle. It's the Q&A process. And I think I'm going to share the questions out here just so you can have a recap of them. And if you want to go back and look at the questions, you can do that. So I'm going to try to do that while we're on here. This is the Inner Circle. You see the link out there, coachmanny.com, Inner Circle. Go out and check us out. And definitely, this is what we do every week. We spend some time on Q&A. I think we're going to do 4 or 5 questions today. So let's get started. And these are definitely going to be questions on leadership today, because that's the category we're going to start with. And the first question we're going to talk about is, where do I draw the line on meetings? And I'll put this question out there for you, and let's see, so we can kind of share this question. Let's see. I think I can get it out there. Let's try it. Okay, we got it. So that's the first question we're going to address from one of the members of the Inner Circle. Where do you draw the line on meetings? And I tell you, where I'd like to draw the line is I'd like to throw them out the window. I get frustrated a lot of times when I'm in a client site and I watch and I learn how people are just meeting to death. And I mean, it's crazy, the stuff that's going on. I don't know how some of you do it. And I talk to some people in my family who are just they work for corporations, and the meetings just drive them crazy. And as it says in the question, everybody's got work to do, right? How can you spend your whole time in meetings? No wonder people are still working at 8 o'clock today. Are you helping or hurting the operation when you spend the time in meetings? Second part of the question, how much communication can effectively be done without meetings? All right, so let me just give you my opinion and from my research and my work with clients. Number one is meetings are for making decisions. If you need a work session is something different. And the only people who should be at a work session are the people who are directly involved. A meeting is for making decisions. And if you're not going to make any decisions, why are we getting together? Second of all, if you're going to be spending more than an hour, forget it. It's too much. People die after an hour. Their effectiveness goes in the gutter. So if you are not in less than an hour, then why are we having the meeting? That would be my question always to all of you. So meetings should be limited to an hour. They should be made for decision making. The most effective meetings are less than 30 minutes. And so that's what I teach you. We teach this when I'm teaching with stuff, or even when I do online meetings, I try to limit it to about 30 minutes. So that's your answer. And then the answer is, and I've done this with a lot of companies, is we try to if you can put it in a report, put it in a report. If you can send me an email, send it to me. If you can put it in something physical where I can look at it, I think it's a great waste of time, effort, and energy to have a meeting to go over a report. Well, I can read the report, and then we could have a meeting. Were there any questions? Was there anything we need to discuss? And then we can leave 5 minutes later because there really wasn't. Everybody was on the same page. Instead, we're grueling, and we spend 2 hours going through a report that I already read and I didn't have any problems with. And guess what? I just lost 2 hours of work time. So in answer to your question, let's go back to the original question. Where do you draw the lines on meetings? Unless you're going to make decisions, unless there's just no way to do it in writing without creating a whole book, we're not going to have a meeting. People got work to do. People have a lot of things to do. And I guarantee you, in your corporate environment today or where you're working today, you can probably eliminate 75% of the meetings using technology. And if you want to know more about that, just get a hold of us. We'll sit down with you and we'll talk to you. Communications are a lot of other ways to make that happen. So you see what we do? This is what we do in the world today. This is how we answer the questions. And I'm sorry, I put that question out there and I didn't release it to you. But just so you have it for your records, that's the first question. And so let's move on to another. You see what's happening in the inner circle? We do questions just like this. And this is another question now from another member of the inner circle. And I'm going to throw that out there. Maybe this time I'll let you see it before we go too deep in it. Yeah, that. When the organization culture is one of negativity and darkness, how do you lead troops into the light? Oh, wow. This question threw me a little bit because that's a tough environment. I hope not too many of you out there are dealing with that type of environment, because that can be a little rough. When the organization culture is negative, and I know there's a lot of cultures out there, how do you handle the negativity and still take your troops to the light? Well, as we were teaching earlier today, what's one of the most important things that you need to do out there as a leader is you need to demonstrate to your team that this is how I operate, and if you follow me, this is how we operate it. Do not get sucked into the rest of the people. Do not get sucked into the way all these other people are doing things. You can be the light. Now just think about that for a minute. You can be the light in the environment. You can be different. And I train leaders all the time and said, yeah, you got to go through a lot of crap in your organization, but you can't get sucked into it. Don't become like the rest of the people. If you find yourself becoming like the rest of the people, maybe it's time you made a change. You can be the light, and I've been that light. And it's rough, yes, it's tough, but you know what? When you don't care, I got two choices. I can either be different or I can get sucked in. I'm never getting sucked in, so you can fire me for being different. Let's move on. You can be the light. So so back to the original question, how do you become that light? Because you don't get sucked into that environment. You don't let your team get sucked into it. You create within that darkness a powerful LED light, and you can do that. And I know it's hard, but just show people that you're not like the rest. And watch what happens. All of a sudden, everybody's following you, aren't they? And isn't that what leadership is about? I hope you're getting something from this. You see, this is what we do in the inner circle. We deal with real life questions like this, and we answer them. We share them. We bring them about. Wouldn't you like to be doing this every week? Do you think this could help your business and your career? Then get in on the inner circle. Become a member today, because you should be here. All right. Let me find the next question. I was going to use this one, but I'm not sure. All right. So the real question is, how do you get people motivated? All right. So I'm not going to put that whole question. We'll just leave the question here is how to motivate people. And I would love to have some feedback if you have something that you would like to share with me. How do you motivate people? And please feel free to put any kind of comments out there. Love to have them. So don't be afraid. Or if you may say, Manny, that's crazy. There's no way that works. Tell me, I'm okay with that. We love the feedback. And that's a great thing about the inner circle is the feedback makes all the difference. And if you're in the circle, you say, okay, who said that? Let me do a one-on-one with them. Let me communicate with them. Let me do PM with them. Wow, that's what's great. So how to motivate people? Well, a lot of people will tell you can't really motivate people. And even if you go to a motivation, like I'll go do a keynote and I'll speak and I'll get people pumped up. But you know what? Only 10% of those people really will be pumped up afterwards. The greatest way that I've found to motivate people is through what I do. It goes back to the question that we just answered. How do you become different? How are you the light? That's the same way you motivate. People think I'm a little crazy, and you may think that too, because I will jump around. I do jump out of bed in the morning. I am pumped up in the morning, and people think I'm crazy. But you know what? When you walk into the work environment and you're not like everybody else, you're different, and you're moving, and you're successful. Guess what? People follow you. That motivates people. When people see that your key is success, your key is helping them. As we talked in the earlier session today, what's one of the great things you need as a leader? You need to develop your team. Team development means motivation. Motivation means, gosh, look at Manny. I can't sit here in a dark corner and be by myself when I have a leader who's doing that. Of course you can't. Lead by example. And that will motivate the people. Yes, sometimes you do have to be tough. And we'll talk about millennials here in a moment, and that's not a cut on any of you out there because I want millennials as members of this group. Don't get me wrong. But the point is, you've got to lead by example, and sometimes you got to be a little tough. And sometimes this is the line. And sometimes that means if you're not going to do it this way, sometimes you have to motivate with the negative. I hate motivating with the negative, but here's the rules. If you're not going to follow them, we got to move on. All right, I think we got time for one more. How's that? Can we do one more? I want to take all your day, and I know we try to keep this short. Let's see. Yeah, let's talk about millennial, Generation X, boomers, all that stuff. The question is that we got from people out there is, and I'm going to divert from the real question into a secondary question because I think I've got so many people asking me this, is how do you manage millennials? And let me see if I can get the question out here. And probably we'll just use this as the question right here. How about we put effectively? And if you're a millennial out there, give me some comment out there. I would love to hear what you have to say because I get this question almost every day now that I'm out at a client site or I'm talking with clients on the phone. How do we manage millennials? Well, this isn't some strange breed. I used to do a keynote or kind of a speech to people about millennials, and I would always start with a very simple thing. Here's a baby boomers. Okay, I'm a baby boomer, and I walk in and people used to say to me, "You're the most radical generation ever," and it's true. Look at all the stuff that happened in America during the 60s and 70s. And we sit here and we say, these people aren't like us. Weren't people saying that about generations previous as well? But what happened is people say, well, yeah, but you guys stepped up. This generation isn't stepping up. Maybe we're just not being tough enough. Maybe we're not making the rules. I know one of the big problems that exists out there today, and let me tell you, if I had the answer to this question, I would be the richest man around because this question is everywhere. I agree with you. But how do you manage millennial? And we are going to spend some more time in the inner circle talking about this question. That's why I love some feedback. And if you're a millennial member out there, or you're a millennial out there listening to this, please give me some feedback. Don't be afraid. The problem is, let's deal with one thing, which is trying to get millennials on time to work. It's a big issue. I know that it's a big issue. How do we deal with it? Well, this is when we start. And if you can't start at that time, I'm not changing my company. This is how we operate. I've got, 100 employees that can all get here on time. I got 2 employees who can't. The 100 are going to win. Sometimes we got to be tough. And I know you don't want to hear that. And people don't want to hear that. But it's the time of flexibility. Yeah. And flexibility is the greatest thing that I love about working for myself. But when a client needs me at 8 o'clock, guess what time I'm in? 8 o'clock. When a client expects me to be working on something at 6 tonight, I'm there. When a client expects me, and I've had clients, that want to meet at 6 o'clock on a breakfast meeting, guess what? I'm there. And if I'm working on site, we're doing a project, and that project work starts at 9 o'clock, I'm there at 8:30. So we'll come back to this one. I just wanted today to give you a flavor. What do you think? How do you like this Q&A? How would you like to just listen to, 4 or 5 questions every week that affect your business? Questions, how would you like to have your questions out here on the table? And, I'm going to just wait 1 minute. If you have a question out there right now and you want to share it, put it out there. And even if I don't get to it today, even if I don't get to it on this broadcast, we'll use it in the future, and I'll give you access to that particular answer if you're not a member. But we want you on the inner circle. This is what the inner circle is like. And if you were here earlier today, you saw us when we did the broadcast, and you saw the teaching. You saw the teaching perhaps last week. This is the Q&A. This is a powerful piece of the process. And guess what? I want you in the inner circle. Please join up today. And thank you for being here today. And please get me some more questions. If you got a question out there that you would like to share, let's get it on the table. I hope you've enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. The Q&A is like really cool. And I try not to do too much pre-work because I want to, part of being a leader is being quick on your feet. Yes, in the way, some of the questions I didn't answer as fully as I'd like, and the millennial question, we're probably going to have a millennial question every week in the Inner Circle Q&A session because it's such a hot topic right now. So I want you to be part of this. I want you to be part of the process. Please get in today. $29 a month. Come on. Skip one lunch and you paid for the process, right? I mean, it is that simple. We're here to help you become effective leaders. And Q&A is one of the best ways in the world to do that. I want to thank you for being here. I've enjoyed it as always. And don't forget, we usually try to do a daily Facebook Live to give you some training. We try to get close, but, the place we'd love to have you is on the Inner Circle. So thanks for being here. I will see you soon.